so excited because we're doing the September show and tell this month. And so topics that I think wouldn't normally be like a YouTube video, right? Like, I think it's a worthwhile conversation, but it would be kind of weird, like in the midst of like heavenly minded homemaker content to be like, let's talk about my medical insurance, right? Like that would be like a weird, that would be a weird segue, right? But then it's been neat just going through and all month, every day, you know, video coming out, but like tackling questions that we get often, because I think that is missing for someone to just like you and I, right? We're friends. So if we're just chatting and you're like, hey, we're going through this, like, what do you guys do in this instance? We just have this conversation. And I get that not everybody wants to like go publicly on YouTube and just be like, here's how we survive with no money. You know, like usually it's the opposite that you find on YouTube of like, look at my lavish, wonderful, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's awesome. That's fantastic if that's what you have. So what if you're surviving off of a few $100, right? This is how we do it. But I get that that then creates questions. And I think that we should be able to talk about it. Like, it doesn't have to be weird. Just what is it? And just because that's what we do doesn't mean that's what you have to do, right? It's just what we do and how we make it work.
Finances are so weird on the internet. Well, they're weird in general. Like finances are weird in general. And most of us were taught not to talk about them just in general. We don't talk about our finances. Don't talk about your salary. No. We don't. Shh. It's all hush, hush. And I think as friends, I know I have actually come to you and said, so like in your state, how does things work? And like, here's how things work in my state. Oh, wow. Those are really, really different, because we actually didn't even realize that our systems were as different as they were. Until I was like, so this is the exact process I go through. And you were like, whoa, what? I go through this process. That's so different. How? Oh, wow. Okay.
You mean you can't just call your doctor's office and like talk to them? And, right? Like,
no, I don't text my doctor or have my doctor's email through their, no, these are not things that people in my city have.
Right.
So I love being open about it, but I know that I've come to you about it privately because like we talk all the time, but I think that everybody else wants to know how, but so tell me this, tell me how exactly, friend, you do this, because this is the part that I'm like, oh, wow. How do I get over that? What do I do? How do I do this? Help me, friend.
And I think it's so hard because people normally aren't just going to like talk about these things. And so like, how do I Google this? Like, how do I research this? Because I know that I can find information, but I want to know like from another family who's dealing with real life stuff and doing like, how does it work? How do you do it? How do you get by or whatever? And I know that like, I kind of have an idea of where our questions are going to be headed. I also know that we like our family has done things very backwards from the norm for the past like 20 years. And we were just kind of doing our own thing. And I know like when I talk to other people now in like adult life and they're like, you've done what? And I'm like, we just have been doing that. I don't know. I'm so sorry. Is that the wrong answer? But again, it's not saying that like you have to do it or it's the only way. I'm just saying like it is a way. You can. Like, is it a one size fits all and like whatever? No, but that's not what we're claiming for it to be. But like, if you just want to know what we've done, like I'll tell you what we've done and it's worked well for us.
So with I know a couple of episodes back, we talked about the reason why people answering questions versus things that you can Google or AI answers. These are the exact type of questions that I'm going to ask you are the type of questions that I was referring to in that podcast. These are the questions that you want another family who has similar kind of values as you, who has the same issues you have. How would they go about it? Because like, what did you do? How did it work out? Because then you have an experience that you can absorb and watch, and you don't have to partake in it. You get to just like look at somebody else's experience and go, oh, wow, that's what you experienced with A plus B, here's your experience. Okay, so if I went A plus B, my experience could kind of be the same, maybe.
Yeah.
But AI and Google can't tell you those things. I think that only a person can.
Yeah, I agree.
So I've picked a couple of questions that are totally, sorry, y'all, not coffee cup questions, and they're actually not even member questions, but they are things that we get asked all the time, and these are real people questions.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I know you said that in your video, and that seems all right and dandy and peachy keen for y'all, but like, what about
whatever?
How did you do that? Because like, I got this weird thing over here. How did you do that? Tell me that. So that's what we're going to cover today is how did you do that?
I love it.
Okay.
Just hands. Just hands.
Okay. You ready?
Yep.
This is a multiple part, so I'm going to just take it step by step.
Okay.
Okay. A, what are your thoughts on medical insurance as a family? You claim to have no regular steady I have kids. What do I do? That's the gist of the type of questions you get.
And we got a lot of medical insurance questions after I talked this week about how for the past 5 years, we haven't actually had a real income and kind of what we've done and how we've survived, without actually getting a paycheck. Let me just give a little spiel on my family's personal business when it comes to medical insurance, I guess. Just here you go. So I was a teen pregnancy. Okay. Got married. I ended up with just like state insurance and had our son and whatever. When he was almost 3, we left everything we knew on the West Coast and moved to the East Coast, chasing a dream because I couldn't take living in a small dead-end town. Conned my husband into choosing something that, sorry, I'm gonna make you snort coffee everywhere, but conned my husband into what's your dream? If you could do one wild, crazy thing, what would it be? And he was like, I'd work for NASCAR. And I was like, okay, they're back east. We'll go to NASCAR. And so we did, and we worked in NASCAR, and that's what we did. But quite literally. So then we got out here and we were chasing the corporate dream in NASCAR and realized that insurance is expensive and we were really poor. We worked really hard, but literally, we didn't have 2 pennies to rub together. And so we didn't have medical insurance because we couldn't afford it. It just, no medical insurance for us. And maybe we were just young and dumb and whatever. And so we said, okay, no medical insurance for us. So that meant that when we ran into problems, issues, whatever, we just made do. I got really big into learning how to naturally heal things. If we had to go see a doctor or go to a hospital or something, we just did and made payments or whatever we had to do. And that was what it was. It just kind of became normal for us. I had our daughter, Lily, our second child. I went through the whole pregnancy, the C-section, all of it, no insurance. We just went to the doctors and I paid, I think I only went to a few, maybe 4 or 5 doctor's appointments my whole pregnancy, actually, because it was expensive. So I picked and choose. I was healthy. There wasn't anything, crazy. So I just, I'll hit up some appointments, but I'm not going to go more than I have to because I'm having to pay all of it out of pocket and it's expensive. So I went, the hospital, C-section, the whole 9, all no insurance. And what amazed me was that the moment I got the bill from the hospital and they said, oh, you're no insurance. Well, I got a 70% discount right off the bat. So I'm like, okay, these numbers aren't that awful. You just make payments and whatever, take care of it. I'm not a big doctor person anyways. I'm really not pro our medical system. Is it there for a reason? Is it needed in certain instances and all of that? Yes. But I'm not going to be taking my kids in all the time. I'm not going in all the time. Like we'll use it when we need it. But point being that, you know, we did kind of hit a point where we were doing better financially, and we were like, you know, should we buy what our companies are offering us for insurance? And honestly, we just looked at the cost, and I'm like, we're not going to use it. Like, I mean, there's no point. And so we did without. We became small business owners. And kind of the same thing. It was like, I'm not going to dedicate a bunch of money for an insurance that I don't really believe in and I'm not hardly going to use anyways. On the rare occasion that something comes up that I do need to go in, or we do have to whatever, I'm going to walk in as uninsured. I'm going to get a massive discount off the top, and I'm just going to pay for it. And if it is a major, you know, major medical expense, like having a C-section, the hospital's I'm going to negotiate with the hospital what I owe them anyways. And then I'm going to make payments. Like it really, I honestly feel like saves money, because you're not just shelling out these insurance premiums every month. You're only actually paying for the services that you do use, and you can negotiate. You can call and negotiate and say, how much is this? How much am I paying for that? Break this down. You know, you can do all of that. And so we have largely, over the 20 years nearly that we've been a family, 20 years this next spring will be an official, like, this is the existence of our family, have only had insurance a couple times. And everything outside of that, we just either figured out how to take care of naturally, made do, or paid upfront cash for whatever it was. And I'm not saying that as somebody who just has lots of money. I'm saying that as like young, dumb kids with not 2 pennies to rub together. Like, I mean, very, very minimal. Now, my mom is a very serious diabetic. Like, she has to do different things. She has to do that. So like, I mean, if you have that circumstance or something in your life, I still say it's worthwhile to say, if I was just going to be not insured and pay cash, what kind of discounts and prices and things could I get? I mean, you could always weigh the difference, but we have largely not had insurance for pretty much the past 20 years, even with all of our kids. We actually only recently got insurance. It's only been in the past few years that we've had insurance. We do have insurance through our state. North Carolina state insurance is actually phenomenal, and we really enjoy it. And it was kind of a weird way how we even ended up getting insurance. But we did. And then it was like, well, since we have insurance, let's just go check this or check that. Like, should we do that? We use it very, very little. And I am thankful for it. My husband had some health stuff, whatever. And again, I wouldn't have gone and sought insurance for what he's dealt with. We would have just dealt with it like we dealt with everything else, where we go in, make payments, you know, do whatever. So yeah, I mean, state insurance is an option if that's, you know, something that you're, you know, in. Like us. We're really poor. We qualify because we have no money. Do we use it recklessly as just like, woohoo, free insurance, let's go? No, we hardly use it. We use it if there's a serious something that we can't treat naturally and we need to go check out or something, right? My husband ended up having emergency surgery. Like, I mean, so we have used it for a couple things, but yeah, I feel really bad. I've actually had this conversation with good friends because she was talking about this and was really struggling because they were shelling out so much money in insurance each month. And I was like, I just don't get it. Like, you guys are barely making by. Your husband works his rear off. You're doing all of this, and so much is just flying out the door. Do you even use it? How much money are you spending on insurance that you don't even use? Because they're very natural and holistic and all that stuff too. So I'm like, why? Why are you doing that? Like, to me, I just don't get it. I just don't get insurance like that. Like, I have to have insurance. Are there some cases where you do need it? And that is something, sure, of course, deal with that. The average family, even that has some medical expenses, if you calculated how much it would actually cost you to pay out of pocket as an uninsured for those things compared to how much your premiums are, big difference. You could put aside a savings. Now, I will say that what I've know friends that have done, I've recommended friends to go check out, and what we will, when it's like on our list of things that we would like to get to, are the Christian health share memberships and stuff. We're actually talking about it with our chiropractor the other day. He's an amazing Christian man. We love our time with him. I go to a chiropractor before I go to any medical professional. And anytime I go to another medical professional, I still bring it back to my chiropractor and run it through him, because I'm like, let's talk about this from a God's natural health aspect before we just go willy-nilly into whatever the doctors are saying. Are some doctors great? Yes. Do I trust them across the board? No. So a Christian health share plan, where usually, you have a premium. It's usually much lower than a standard insurance premium. You pay into that, and basically members of the body of Christ come together, pay into this, and then they will reimburse the expenses that you have. That is something that we would like to get to. That's kind of a goal for us. I think a cat just jumped on your table. Yep, I knew it. That's why I had to come in here and hide, because I would have cats in here. Yeah. But
I'm just at the dining room table. Yeah. And oh goodness, they just like ran. Oh, wow. Sorry.
Cats here. So I get it. If you're facing something, sure, you have to deal with what you're facing. But I think that living in fear of, I have to have insurance. What about this? What about that? Again, if the Lord's pursuing you and calling you to something, we shouldn't let anything stand in our way, because God's got it. And he's not going to, where he guides, he provides. And so I think that I know that insurance is a really big one that people get hung up on, of like, what do I do if I lose this insurance? Insurance is not something that our household worries about at all. And we've made it 20 years so far. And that includes medical emergencies. That includes having children. That includes emergency room trips for kids. That includes sickness. That includes, I don't know. I mean, all the things, right? Like, but it also has meant that I had to really get educated on healing naturally. That's why I'm really big into our diet and what we eat and taking care of our bodies and being healthy. Now, we still have medical things we deal with. Yes. And is diet just a fix for everything? No. But the more that we do to be aware and trying to prevent and heal and whole body health and things like that, does that make a really big difference? Yes. My husband currently is on a few prescriptions because he got himself to a bad place. Okay, let's address that. Let's take care of that. But our goal is to get him off of that as quickly as possible. So that's why he's doing a lot of health and whole healing and all of this other stuff. Yes. Is he using that as a Band-Aid right now? Absolutely. Is our goal for him to just happily stay on whatever medications they're throwing at him? No, it's to get off them as quick as possible. So that way he's not having to rely on that stuff. Now, I understand that some people find this and they're like, well, cool story. I didn't do that 20 years ago. And now here I am and I have to live off of this for the rest of my life. I think those Christian health shares and things like that, programs like that are wonderful solutions that aren't tied to an employer and aren't costing you an absolute fortune. So hopefully, does that answer all of the, I know it's a big topic that is kind of umbrellaed, but.
So you are more of a holistic.
Like, what did you say?
No, you manage things holistically.
Yes.
It's management of them. You try holistically to manage the things.
Mm-hmm.
When something gets too large for your knowledge of management, you have zero problem going to somebody who knows more than you.
Absolutely. Yep.
And you're willing to pay somebody who knows more than you because you're paying for knowledge.
Yeah.
I know that, like, I've watched you for a long time, but like I've watched you like in your home
Right.
To just on YouTube. So, but I know even through YouTube that when your husband had his first emergency thing, that one doctor recommended one diet for you guys.
Yep.
And you guys were like, okay, this doctor says that a diet can manage our symptoms. It's worth trying out. A diet costs very little to experiment with. Prescriptions cost a lot. So to you thought, man, I have the finances to mess with our diet. I don't have the finances to go out and mess with all these prescriptions. Plus, that's not your shtick.
Right. Yeah.
So you started messing with diet, and you were like, okay, maybe we can help him through diet. You start with diet. You tried it out for a long time. You gave it a good, long time. And then, and then you guys went back in for blood work and it wasn't working. So if a doctor gave you a prescription and you took it for 6 months, what would you do? You would go, man, is this working? Is this not working? And then you would figure out what to do if it's not working. Well, your diet wasn't working, so you switched to a different diet. Instead of switching prescriptions, you switched to a different diet plan. And you're like, maybe this one will help. And that one, I know that carnivore really, really stuck for him. I know that one of your holistic doctors, and Brandon found some stuff, and it just clicked in. And all of a sudden you're like, we'll try this. It's not that hard to try. We could give it a go. And then he started feeling better.
Yeah.
So through diet, you were experimenting the same way that other people might experiment with pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
That's your first level of, let's attack this.
Yeah.
You're not opposed to going to a doctor because obviously you had C-sections. Emergency doctors are there to save you. Go to a hospital when you need saved.
Yep. Deal with the bill. You can work on all that afterwards, right? You can call the office and negotiate price and set up plans. And you can do all that stuff afterwards.
I think that is the piece that it's just faith. God gave you a doctor at that moment to save your life, and he's going to take care of the bill. He knows what's going to happen. He's got it. It might not be comfortable for a moment, but God's got it. And you have to understand that that's how that works.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that covers everything.
And I feel bad because I know being I don't know, we just never have insurance. Isn't the normal thing? Because they're like, how do you provide for your kids? And my kids are fine. We just
your children have had experiences where they've fallen and busted teeth out, and you go and get them fixed. And they have experiences where they have something awry on their skin, and you just go, okay, well, let's try to see if we can fix it holistically. Oh, this isn't working. You're still having these ailments. Okay, let's seek a doctor. And then
figure this out.
You just go seek your doctor who you have already vetted on all of the financings of stuff, and you know that you can pay them when you need to pay them. I know that in our state, that if you were to go into an emergency room or seek out an emergency service, all of our hospitals here locally will help you in whatever way you need help. They're going to tell you that the bill is going to fall on you. They're a doctor's office. They're not going to tell you everything's free.
Right.
But
they're not going to turn you away and leave you out on the road to bleed out.
They're not. So insurance is fun and fantastic if you have it and if you need it. But as an emergency service, nobody's going to turn you away. Your emergency care is not denied just because you lack insurance.
Yep.
It is okay. It's okay. Most of the time, they're going to help you at the counter if you don't have, you say, hi, I have no insurance. And they go, oh, goodness. How? Oh, and then you say, I just don't have insurance. And then they help you right there. They just go, oh, wow. Okay. Do. And they do their little computery things and they help you out. They knock payments down. They give you discounts.
Well, they do all kinds of things. I'm telling you, when I got the bill for the C-section, because we were like, man, I don't even know what this is going to look like. I didn't even ask how much it was going to be. And then they sent me the thing. It was the next day, it was 70% slash. And I was like, why pay insurance? I'll just do this. That was a much better deal. No problem. Let me break it up. I can pay you this much a month. And they're like, okay, we'll take it. All right. Didn't know it was that easy. I'm not saying it's always that easy, but I'm just saying, like, we just trusted and it just worked. And okay.
Wow. Like I've had one medical bill where I don't even want to start to know the price of it. Right. Like, no, I stayed long-term in a hospital, and then my babies stayed long-term in a hospital. And then like, I don't
even want to know what this,
I don't even want to know what that was. It was taken care of, but you know, God, he kind of,
I mean, the same thing. My brother's right now. I have one brother, and it's kind of the same thing. He's like, I'm not going to go to the doctor for that. He needs some dental work done. So we went in and talked with the dentist. We're like, hey, he needs some stuff done, whatever. And they're like, hey, no problem. Because you don't have anything, we'll charge you. We'll match these prices to this and charge you this. And so he goes, okay. So every time he's got, you know, X amount of dollars, he goes and says, all right, take care of this or take care of that, you know, whatever. And he just chips away at it, you know, bit by bit. And, he doesn't have those premiums every month. So for him, he's like, perfect. I mean, it's worth it to set aside, you know, I think of, you know, if you set aside even that same amount of money per month or something, you know what I mean? And put it into, you know, even a semi-decent, you know, return of investment type account, like, but whatever, that's my own 2 cents. Do with that what you will.
The reason we come here for these Q&As is for your answer. So it's good to hear it in all of its different facets, because
we're hanging out the house chatting. That's what I would say. So
we really are just recording our conversations. Like, this is actually how you and I talk.
Yes.
This is just us chatting over Zoom or StreamYard.
Yeah. I just think it doesn't need to be scary. Like, I understand that it's a big, like, intimidating thing. And again, maybe it's because we were just young and dumb and we didn't have insurance. We didn't have money. So it was like, well, you just don't have insurance then. And then you just learn to make do. But like, I hate that it is something for so many families that holds them back. Like, I can't pursue this. I know God's calling me to this. I know whatever. And they just don't pursue it because of this big, scary thing like insurance. And I'm like, it's not scary. It's no big deal. It's all going to be okay. I mean, I'm that person. I am like the essence of who I am very much that, like, yes, it's okay. I'll go flying off a cliff and then build something on the way down. Like that's me. Mm-hmm. I get it. But
I'm the opposite. Mm-hmm. Anything having to do with the government terrifies me. Like, I am petrified when it comes to the government. So you would be talking to people like me, but what if, but they're gonna, I'm
like, yeah, it's fine.
You tell me to calm down all the time.
You do.
Like, okay, from my perspective, we have, as our family, when Obamacare and that stuff went into play, our family was fined because we didn't have insurance.
Oh, were you?
Yes. We were one of the families that were fined because we did not have insurance for 6 months out of the year for Obamacare.
Okay.
I remember this because our tax guy had to talk to us, and he like highlighted this thing and he goes, so I have to warn you that you guys do have to take care of this because this is a fine. Mm-hmm. Now, my like anxiety raised and I could feel my ears turning red and like I wanted to vomit because he's telling me the government is going to fine me. And I'm like, what? It's finally happened. I knew I was going to get trouble. Okay. What? Like, my husband is the sole provider for our family. We have 4 children. We are surviving off of we live in California. Off of, like, come on, y'all. Okay. So I freaked out. And then the tax guy says it's like $400. And I went, oh, wait, that's it? It's like $400 for the family of 6 for that's what they're, oh, you can just take that out of the taxes, right? And he was like, oh, absolutely. And then it just
was done.
So we were one of those families that my ears turned red. I was that freak out. It's happening. Oh, It was $400 and God took care of it.
Yeah.
That's in the end. I know in the moment my body physically reacted and I had a moment.
Your poor husband and the tax man are like, it's okay.
My tax man actually knows when I come in that he like, it's okay. It's okay. It's all going to be okay this year. And he like reassures me the moment I walk in because he knows that it's a big deal to me. He's like, you're fine. You're fine. But I'm that weirdo who like is anxious about everything. Mm-hmm. So it was $400. It's not that big a deal. God got it. Everything worked out fine. Mm-hmm. It was okay. Look, we're still alive now. Something bad happened, but it's still okay. Mm-hmm. Nothing exploded. Mm-hmm. They didn't lock up my husband. They didn't take my kids.
He's out there in the stocks.
My wife didn't get us insurance. Like that's it.
But it feels that way sometimes. Like it feels that way when you're like, how are we going? Like that. It feels that way.
It does. And I'm that person. So I get it. And it was okay. In the end, as my example, it was okay. We were covered. God had us. It was fine. Mm-hmm. We just paid it and moved on. Oh, man, that sucked. Bummer. Kind of thing.
Yeah.
So the next question is about your retirement savings.
Oh, I like this.
Do you have any ideas or perspectives about retirement?
What I think is kind of fun is I know this question in our like 5+ years of being on YouTube, this question's been asked to me a few times. And I know I've like typed things before, but I don't think I've ever actually like responded to.
I don't think you've addressed what your perspective of a retirement savings or what to do for your retirement or how you are preparing for any of this stuff. Do you prepare for it? I use it like
right.
I don't know if you do or not. How would you go about it? Do you have it? Do you not have it? Does it matter? Mm-hmm. Does God have a perspective on it? Does the Bible say anything?
Right. So I think that is really a good one. And again, you want my answer. I'm giving my answer. I can hear, what's bad is especially lately we get so many comments that I hear YouTube comments in my head as I talk or as I do things. The other day, I wasn't even filming. We were just doing something in the house and I did something, or I did or said something, I don't remember. And I went, oh, I can already see the comments. Like I can already see the comments I'm going to get for this. And then I'm like, oh, I'm not recording anything. It was not a big deal. I was just simply like doing something. And I was like, oh goodness, here comes I just said goodness, right? That's one. So I think, but that's not what it is here. You asked me a question. Yes, hold on. Do we do anything for retirement? No, not at all. It was so funny, and I'll tell you guys why and all of that. But what was really funny is we actually maybe this was 2 or 3 months ago, we got a paper in the mail from some company. I used to do financial planning and life insurance. So I actually used to professionally do.
Wait, stuff. What? Say what?
Rewind.
You did what? Is that why you like this stuff so much?
Yeah. Stocks, bonds, annuities, insurances, financial planning, wealth transfer.
You actually know about this stuff. You're not just, I genuinely didn't know this. What?
Yeah. I actually used to do this stuff. I was licensed in the state of North Carolina. I actually used to do this stuff.
So cool. Sorry.
So especially like, wealth transfer and assets and stuff like that, especially going generational and then things like that. Like I used to do this stuff. Okay. So we got something in the mail from a company. I don't even remember what company it was. And it was like, I'm a nerd when it comes to stuff like this. So they send me a packet in the mail of the breakdown of all the financial analysis breakdown stuff. And so my brain just starts going, through all the stuff. And so I turn to my husband and I go, we could probably, I'm doing the business side of things where I'm like, ooh, if we did this for this and like I'm going through my head and I'm like, do you think we should do this? Like, it's not a bad deal. I think we could afford it. Like, should we do this? Because I'm looking at it as it wasn't a bad deal. Like, the financial analytical side of my head is going, not too bad. You know, and he just looks and he goes, for what? Why would we need that money? Why would you, even if one of us died, like, why would that be something we needed? And I went, oh, you're right. I don't know. My head just started going numbers, and I started going, well, it's not a bad deal. And if we did this, like, I just started going through it all. But you're right. Why would we need the investment?
Your flesh started to respond before anything else. And your husband reminded you that your flesh was seeking out reassurance in a way that you did not actually need it. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
He was like, wait, why? Why do we need this? What reassurance do we actually need?
Yep. And I went, you're right. I got excited. There was a spreadsheet on a paper, and I just started racking through the numbers like, you're right.
Why? You saw new stationery and went, oh, stationery.
Exactly. I mean, yeah. And so for us, we have been self-employed for over the past, 10, 15, it's got it. No, it has to be 15. So we're self-employed for a long time. So, that means, so do we technically have, all of us technically have some money in Social Security that the whole system doesn't fall apart by then technically draw on by that time, but whatever. If it happens, it happens. It's not like I'm putting my eggs in that basket or something. I honestly, it's not even we don't plan for it. We never have. We've never done anything specific to plan or plot to try to control our financial security, right? Because I feel like that's what it all boils down to. I'm going to do this so that way I know I have financial security. We've done zero of that. None. We definitely have had talks about if the Lord opened up the path that we could, do a little investing in earthly things. And I say that in the way of maybe buying some real estate or putting some money into things where there could be rentals. We actually feel quite passionate about the ministry of renting homes. I know that's not like a normal ministry, but we have rented homes for 20 years, and we've lived in 16 different homes dealing with 16 different landlords. And I could give you some of the craziest testimony stories when it comes to these wacko landlords that I always seem to find. And it's a total God thing, but my husband cracks up because we have the weirdest stories with landlords because I just find them from all corners of the world, and we go rent their houses, and usually towns we've never lived in, or in some cases a state we've never even been to, but sure, we'll drive down to the Florida Keys and rent from you, right? I have weird stories like that. So we feel like there really is ministry in renting homes. So have we thought about, maybe one day, you do think of that stuff. Eventually, Lord willing, we will still be here and, maybe not able to work in the ways that we are, but that's all God and where he leads us and where he guides us. And so just because we're older doesn't mean that his provision and his guidance just goes away. And so, yeah, we don't even have a savings account today. The Dave Ramsey have a savings account. We don't have a savings account. We don't keep backup emergency credit cards. So we don't do anything to plan for our retirement. We don't even have a savings account. We don't keep emergency stuff. I trust that George Mueller, that's what we need. We need a counter for every time I bring up George Mueller in a video. But bing, just his little face just pops up in the screen. I love his testimony. And for me, that was so huge because it really just spoke to everything that, I mean, we saw from scripture anyways. And I don't need to hold on to excess. I mean, our bank account most always sits at like $0 to $20, just being honest with you guys. I think we literally have like 57 cents in our bank account right now. I actually pulled it up earlier for something to check something. And we do. I mean, we take care of what we need to take care of. We want to be generous givers in all that we have. And so if I've taken care of what I need to take care of and there's money sitting in there and it can go to something else, we'll let it go to something else, because I'm just going to, like, what am I holding on to it for? Like, here, let it go. And then guess what? Like, God will provide and something will happen for whatever the next thing is that comes up that needs money for. And, you know, if I don't have it today, it's because I don't need it today. And I'm not saying that it's sinful to save for a retirement or anything like that, because there's wise investments, there's good things, you know, that we can do. I've had to start working with my dad recently because now he has estate planning stuff he's wanting to do and different things. And so I have to help and do things with that, which is fine. And could one day that turn into something? Sure, maybe. But like, is that where I'm focused on and where I'm putting my eggs in that basket or anything? No, it is what it is. And if I feel like you hold everything with an open hand, if I have it in my hand, right, there's money, there's property, there's whatever, then okay, cool. But like a feather sitting in the palm of my hand, if a breeze blows and the feather flies away, okay, that's cool. Like, I'm not going to grab it and be like, I've got to keep this. I got to have this much money. I have to retire with this amount. I have to have all of this. I feel like it's that building the bigger barns to store more stuff. And then a fire comes and it's all gone. And you're like, you know, what do I do? And so for me and in our family, my husband, all of our conversations we've had is God's going to lead and God's going to provide, and whatever that looks like. And at whatever age that is, God is going to be just as faithful if we live to 100 as he is right now in our 30s and 40s. Like, I don't plan, I don't worry about it. And it's honestly not ever even a thought. And I mean that genuinely. We've never sat here and been like, oh man, we're getting a little, you know, my husband's hitting 40 this year. Like, we're getting a little closer. Should we get our lives together and think about this now? No, because God's going to provide. He's got it. I keep working on how I can serve him today and how we can do what he's calling us to do. And when we hit whatever age that we can't be physically doing something or whatever, you know, he's got it and he'll take care of it. He'll put us where we need to be.
Your husband had a very large health scare. Mm-hmm. Where he was rushed to a hospital, mm-hmm. and then admitted for emergency surgery, mm-hmm. where he then had to stay in the hospital for multiple days. Yeah. You literally traveled back and forth between a hospital and your children, mm-hmm. because as a wife and a parent, you had to choose who you were going to spend that moment with. Mm-hmm. It was a big health scare, as in it was a large health scare, as in he could have not come out of the hospital.
Yeah. He was within hours of death.
That was an option.
Mm-hmm.
Some people go to the hospital knowing perfectly well that they're going to come out because it was just a broken bone. Mm-hmm. Nobody knew if your husband was going to come out of the hospital. Mm-hmm. We just all knew he went in.
Yeah.
Your plan and retirement and savings did not change when you even had that big health scare and you were like, oh snap, life is going to look different because you had that moment of, well, what if he passes? What am I going to do? That was a moment that everybody, like, we all think of it. You didn't like oh goodness, we need to save everything we can for the day that my husband is no longer going to be here. I need to hoard it. You weren't like that. You still give freely. Your bank account it's still at the low end because you give freely. You are not storing it up because you had a scare about what could the future look like. Mm-hmm. I kind of think of your bank account, not yours, but like the collective yours, my bank account, if you believe this, and your bank account. Yeah. I believe it kind of like that we should have an open bank account policy with God. And it's like he should have a debit card to our bank account and he can use it freely because it's all his money. But
yes. And biblically, that's what it is. Biblically, we're told that it is all the master's and we're here as his ambassadors and stewards. Yeah. So whatever money you have, right, it's not yours. When you live for Christ, it's his and it's his instrument to do his will. And so that's why we are to be cheerful givers. That's why we are to support our teachers. That is why we are supposed to, right? You like go through all of the things that we see biblically truly about money. And it's because it's not our money. It's God. So how am I serving him and glorifying him? And no, I don't mean send all of your money to that televangelist.
No. Don't do that. No.
Redact on that just right now. But Joyce Meyer doesn't need another mansion. She's okay, guys. But that's why we don't hoard it and we don't hold it because it's not ours. It's his that he's bestowed upon us to go and be his ambassador and do his will. And so we make sure our stuff is taken care of, but we make sure we're smart with it and we're not just being wasteful. We make sure that we freely give. We make sure that we're not investing in things that are filling our heart's attention to the world. We enjoy and we appreciate and we love whatever the Lord's put on our lap today, but that's not where our heart's focus and desire is. And I don't worry. And that's another thing is the fear. I don't worry about it. I genuinely don't worry about it. No insurance, no retirement, whatever. It's going to be okay because it's going to be whatever God leads. And just because you have health insurance or you have a retirement plan doesn't mean that your life is all hunky-dory and everything's perfect. Okay. God's got it. And it's going to be okay. And I know where I put my trust and my focus and my eternal investment, plan into play. And I just focus on that and all the other pieces fall where they're going to fall.
Mm-hmm. There's no cutoff age for provision.
No.
You're smart with what you have.
Mm-hmm.
And you use it to the best of your ability.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Sometimes do we go through times of famine? Yeah, sure do. I just told you guys I got 57 cents in my bank account. Like, yes, sometimes I go through times of famine.
Oh, I think an important point to also mention is that, so I know that you say that you are not an anxious person and that you do not have fear.
Mm-hmm.
That does not mean that spark of anxiety as it is getting closer to the time,
mm-hmm.
it does not mean that goes away.
Mm-hmm.
You have that spark of anxiety, but you're overall not anxious. You understand that God's got it. Mm-hmm. Your anxiety is, how does God have it this time? Like, how in the world is he going to do it this time? Let's watch. Kind of like you're watching. I watched my daughter watch a romance movie last night, one of the rom-coms, right? She was so worked up and anxious over this movie on what the girl was going to get with because she had a choice, and her, like, the anxiousness that I saw in my daughter, I was like, oh, snap.
Will Mr. Darcy come around or not?
It was that level of anxiety. It was so funny. That spark of, how is this going to work out? What's going to happen at the end? Oh, that doesn't go away.
Mm-hmm.
But you understand that they're going to get together with someone in the end of the romance movie and that it's all going to work out.
It's going to be sunshine and rainbows and it's going to be beautiful, right? Yeah.
Because that's the way a romance movie works. If you understand that's the way the romance movie works, shouldn't you understand the way that God works? Look, God's got it.
Bingo.
He's got it. Romance movies work out and they just have the true love in the end of it and it's all fine. It works out, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Let's apply that to God. He's just got it. It works out, y'all. You can still be anxious about it and like, oh no, oh no, oh no, what's going to happen? Who's it going to go? How? Oh, where is God going to get this money from? But you still fully understand and trust that God has the money. Mm-hmm. He's going to provide it for you and it is going to show up. Mm-hmm. You're just worried about how.
Yeah. Because if I truly need it today, I'll have it today.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it just means that I learn a lot of refinement in the process of things that I used to think I needed today. I've learned over the past few years, specifically, maybe I don't. Maybe that's not quite what I need. Got it.
So through the process, God is identifying his priorities for you because the things that he no longer prioritizes might be on the bottom of the list and they may be the things that fall off. Maybe you don't need Netflix because that money should be going to something else and you should be investing that time into X like he told you to. I don't know. That's just random. But yeah, like you don't know. You are getting God's priorities through your bank account, though. I know that's a weird way of thinking about it, but sometimes I do think about it like that.
Yeah. No, I think that's spot on, and it makes a big difference. And so, how's it all going to work? I don't know. Do I worry about it though and sit around in fear over it? No, I just go, okay, God, what's on my plate today? I'm going to go focus on that.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll be on YouTube in 40 years going, guys, don't listen to my old videos. That was a horrible idea. I wish I would have invested more money. Maybe I'll do that. I don't know.
I don't see that happening.
I don't see that either, but
I don't really see that happening.
You think we can get one more in? I know I took like forever to answer 2 questions.
Someone asked you a really interesting question about animals.
Oh, yes.
And I thought that one would be a great...
It's kind of like an off-topic, but yet on topic of this conversation. Yes. So it's the perfect time to like slip this one in and answer it. I agree.
It really is, but I couldn't find the exact wording. And this one was so specific that I was like, ooh, I need to get her wording of it because I'm gonna not do it justice. It's just gonna be all wrong. So I found it.
Okay.
Again, I'm gonna just read it how she worded it because I think that part is important. It's got a little bit of a story, but
yeah,
it's what somebody asked. Okay. I'm just curious, but do you stress money-wise when it comes to the animals? Like money to buy food for them or vet bills? My kids want a dog so bad, but my husband says no. If I want a dog, I need to go get a job first. We do have 2 cats, and a year and a half ago, someone sent me flowers with a very toxic flower in it. She didn't know it was toxic, and one of the cats almost died. The vet bill was $2,000. Like that's a big bill, y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It was really stressful. Just wondering your thoughts on pets and expenses. So we were talking. That's the end of the question. We were talking that what do you do in an emergency? Like we've discussed what we do in an emergency with your husband, with your children. You now have a homestead, and I think this is a really important topic. How do you deal with the financial stress of you just added 50 mouths to feed?
Yeah.
You just added all of these extra potential emergencies. How do you deal with that kind of an emergency? And how do you deal with that many mouths to feed?
I think that's a very fair question. I mean, considering I just told y'all that like I have 57 cents in my bank account and we don't have a savings, like we don't keep money. I have, you know, that's what we have. I have a couple points here because I think the animal one is a great question. And when it comes to growing the homestead, this has been a dream of ours for a long time, something we really wanted. This is where all of this thought process comes for us. We wanted to regrow our flock of chickens. We used to have over 30 some odd chickens. We had a predator that was picking them all off. We're down to 2. We grew that back up again. Well, it took an investment of buying 2 Great Pyrenees, right? We had to have that investment. It was one that my brother joined in with us on because he believes in helping me achieve my dreams, I guess, like, because he's an amazing brother. But he did. He was like, no, I see that. If we're going to do this, we've this coyote problem. I don't want him, you know, he doesn't want him in having a coyote problem with his nieces outside running around. And so he was happy to say, all right, I'm a single guy. I've got the money. Like, here you go. We invested in that. They go through a 45-pound bag of dog food about every 2 weeks. These dogs are huge, right? Like, they're each going to be 100-pound dogs. It's a lot of dog food. We knew when getting them, I said, okay, well, we need to calculate first what the cost, you know, to feed these are. But for us, the cost outweighed the benefit of having these, because we knew if we were going to do anything with the homestead, raise chickens, raising the chickens and stuff is an income, is an income stream for us. So, hey, we have to make this investment if we're going to have this income stream. Okay, we understand that. The sheep, we got sheep because the sheep can graze and be fully self-sustainable on our property. I don't have to do much for them. Now, that isn't to say that the possibility of a emergency couldn't come up that we would then have to figure out. Having pets, when we have a lot of pets, even we've got like homestead animals, and then we have pets. There's a lot of them. Okay.
But they're different.
They're different. They are different.
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to kind of like, when bringing in pets, we had to say, okay, can we afford that cost to feed? It's why we feed a raw food diet. It's why we do different things. You know, like, we found something that works for us. So before getting any more animals, we did have to factor in, could we afford to feed them, to care for them, right? Yes, we have to figure that part out. As far as dealing with an emergency situation, we do everything just like with us, as naturally and holistically as we can. We've had my kids can doctor a chicken like ain't nobody's business. I'm talking, we've had chickens with organs hanging out and stuff ripped open. I mean, we've doctored broken bones. We've doctored so many things with chickens, with cats, with dogs, with whatever. So we have had to learn and really take care of anybody who knows what fly strike is. That was something we learned the other day because we had to deal with that. So we have had to learn how to doctor and take care of things because, no, we don't have money to just go take them to a vet. We have to do it ourselves. And so hopefully you guys can't hear, there's an alarm going out there, and I don't think anybody's in the house because they're all out in the pool. So it's just like blasting out in the living room. So it means we have to treat things that, sure, would it be nice to just go drop them off and not have to worry about it? Sure, that would be great, but we don't have that kind of money. It also means that the harsh reality of bringing in a lot of these animals and it would take a very specific circumstance for us to go and spend $2,000 on an animal, any of our animals. Could we maybe take out some credit or do something if we had to? Sure, we could. Would we do that? That would be a hard line. There's a big difference between animals and people, number one. And I know that line of idolatry with pets is a big one that we cannot touch in this because we're already at an hour. But I was raised this way, and we raise our family this way, that we know and understand that I would not would I come up with $2,000 to take care of someone in my family? Absolutely. Would I take $2,000 that the Lord's entrusted to us and put it into an animal? Maybe, if for a right situation, right? Maybe that would be it, but I would really have to think about that before we did that. And so we know that the reality is that we could end up in an emergency situation with any one of our animals. That means that that animal's getting put down, because that's what has to happen. And if that means we have to go put down an animal to put it out of its suffering, because I don't want anything to suffer, obviously. And if that means that I have to go put something down and we have to go through a really difficult thing, well, then that's the responsibility you take on when you take on the responsibility of animals, of caring for critters. That's part of it. Is it amazing? Is it exciting? No, but it's just the reality of having animals. And I grew up, you know, with family with farms, and sometimes we had to go put animals down and we had to go do stuff. It isn't fun. It's never a great thing, but it really teaches you the value of life. And so do we worry about it? No, not at all. But do we understand the weight of our decisions and the reality that that could, in an emergency situation, turn into? Yeah, we understand that. Now, again, it doesn't mean that we don't put money into the things that we need to for our animals, and we don't work really hard and learn how to doctor things and take care of things and do that. Yeah, we do. And like I said, I'm not saying that we would never take our animal to the vet or never, you know, do something. Of course we could if we had the opportunity to, and it was right, but it also would be something that we'd have to look at and have to say. And sometimes we know at the end of the day, the answer is always, we might have an animal that we have to go put down. And that really stinks. That's not what any of us are trying for, but that's the reality, that if in an emergency situation or something, Lord willing, you know, would happen, that would be what we'd have to do. And I'm not saying everybody's willing to take on that responsibility, but that's one that we have and we understand. And we know just how dirty and awful and heavy that is, but we signed up for this, you know? And so is it most always sunshine and rainbows, us skipping around with sheep in the field and playing with critters? Yes, most of the time it's just this lovely, wonderful, whatever. But at the end of the day, could it mean something that nobody wants to have to talk about? It could.
I kind of think of it like it is an everyday possibility.
Yeah.
And you're kind of signing up for that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, do you want the thing that happened to me?
Yeah, you can do that.
So we lived on a farm,
mm-hmm.
and we've had emergency situations where life could not be spared. Mm-hmm. It ended in us putting an animal down because it had to happen. It just was what it was. It had to happen this way.
Mm-hmm.
So we've had that experience. And my children were very little. And we have one daughter that was a little, like, she's got a little spot in her that she is working through because of it. It's the path that God has designed for our family. And it is a moment that apparently she needed in her life and she has to work through. So that's how I take it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get to pick whether or not it happened. It was God. I have to walk God's path.
Yeah.
Right? As an opposite. Sorry.
Speaking of critters.
Speaking of the guy that I'm literally going to talk about next, a year ago, we had a very emergency situation. And I was actually on the phone with you when it happened. And you got to see the moment. Yeah. And my body did this really weird thing that it responded to this trauma in this really weird way. And like, there's a whole big old extravaganza.
Yeah, it was.
It really was. Mm-hmm. We have a cat. We have 3 cats. One of them, he's yanking his food dish because he's playing with it. And that's what, if you can hear that, I'm so sorry. Hold on. Give me this.
Do it over there.
Okay. So our little friend here ended up really sick, and my husband took him to the vet, and we dropped him off, and they told us it was going to be like a couple $100. No problem. There you go. Right. Please help us. Something is very, very wrong. Please help us. A couple $100, no problem. I got a phone call that was, well, it's not a couple $100. We've saved your cat, but in saving your cat, now you owe us $2,000.
You added a zero from a couple hundred to a couple thousand, like that.
Yes. So at that moment, it was, we've saved the cat, and if you can't pay this, we extinguish cat.
What? Yeah.
No, you cannot extinguish my daughter's cat that we just rushed and you just told me you saved it. That's not how, I can't do that. So we paid it off slowly. We felt that it was the situation unfolded this way because it unfolded this way. And it's just the walk that we had to do at the moment. And God provided, guys. God provided. All of a sudden, I mean, come on, my husband is the only worker. And all of a sudden there was
got a new bill.
There was a new bonus that was added to his paycheck after we got this bill. There was this thing that showed up after we got the bill. And we just slowly chunked it off and paid it out. It sucked. It was so poopy. It was such a poopy situation. But it was what it was. And we worked through it and we paid it off. And the cat's alive and annoying us just as always. We adore him. Truly, truly. He is a member.
But it was really nice when you made that last payment and was like, oh, we don't have to like be stretched so thin.
I was so excited. This was a very, very large decision. We do not buy cars for $2,000.
Right.
And I have to buy a cat. Wait, huh? This is what? Okay. Now I'm in this situation. I own a cat and I was put in this weird situation and now I have to walk through it and it is what it is and God's going to get me through it. And okay, honey, do you really think that you can do this? And because you're the breadwinner and I have to put this bill on you. Are you okay with this? Because I took it to my husband, and my husband, the breadwinner, said, I value my family, and if it costs a little extra every month to make sure everything in the house is happy and no problem, I'll do that. I'll work extra hard. And he just took it on and he did it, and he's amazing. And I cannot sing my husband praises enough for everything he does, not just that one little instant,
But your husband also said, guess what?
Yeah.
We don't need any new pets. Let me just put that out there to everyone, right? And you guys all said,
we have agreed that we have a closed house. We will get no other animals. We actually had the conversation when we got these animals. Our last one was an emergency pet that we found in our garage, broken.
Yeah.
We found an animal
back to life.
A crushed animal in our garage, and my husband actually was the one who decided that he was going to rescue this one. But when he rescued this guy, it was a closed system. We're at max capacity, y'all.
No more animals.
I can't feed any more mouths. Okay, you're right. That's a good decision. I don't want you to stretch yourself too thin. I respect my husband's decision. He's the breadwinner. That's how that works. So we have a closed system. When the emergency happened with our cat, it was a conversation on, this is why we have a closed system, guys. This is why we can't have any more animals, because we are at our max. And if anything extra would have happened, I don't want to have to verbalize it, but
that's that weight of, guess what that means? It means that we don't get to go save the cat. It means that the cat gets put down, and that really stinks.
Yeah.
Because that's that weight that you carry when you caretake other critters.
I think the word that we're missing in this is husbandry. It's animal husbandry. It means the caretaking of an animal to its fullest. Like,
yeah.
You are responsible from the moment it's alive to the moment it's deceased. You are that responsible person. If you can't take care of another baby, an animal sometimes is the same responsibility, like adding something else. I can't add anything else. Don't get a cat. Don't get a dog. Don't get anything else if you're at your limit. If your husband says you're at your limit, respect him and conversate about it, but respect him. It is what it is. He has said what he has said. There's probably a reason.
But do you have to have savings and do all the vet things and have all the money and do all the stuff? No, you don't. It means you understand the weight that if something happens, it's on you to take care of it or put it down. But
in that moment, you have to choose. The weight is that in that moment, you are the choice maker. You have what you have, and you have to put your choices to where you have things.
Yeah.
It's kind of what y'all are choosing, though.
So on today's episode of We Just Upset Everybody for an Hour.
Sorry, y'all.
Welcome to the Q&A, Chatty Coffee Date. No, I think those are good questions, and I think they're ones, I mean, I know they're hard ones, and I know people don't really talk about them, but I mean, that's...
We don't handle them the same as I've ever seen anybody on the internet talking about.
Maybe other people do. They just don't say it publicly. And maybe if we get a lot of backlash, we'll be like, ooh, that's why we don't talk about this stuff publicly.
Okay, that's true. I was thinking the exact opposite. Maybe because we are putting this out there that the algorithm is going to pick it up and we're going to get all the other kinds of videos all of a sudden like this, because
there's tons of them out there and we just didn't know it.
We don't know it. And now we're going to get it. So like, I don't know, maybe that'll work.
Everybody else does. Sorry. On a side note, I'm really excited because next week's Q&A, we're going to do a special Q&A where we answer all of your guys' questions about like holidays and holy days. The fall holy days are coming up, which I'm so excited about. You guys can go check it out. We'll link it in the description. But we've got our study. We look forward to, and we're actually going to be celebrating together. Sabrina's going to be out here. We're going to be celebrating Yom Teruah together. So really excited for that. But I figured it would be a perfect time to just everybody, if you have a question, obviously if you have questions about anything, just leave us a comment, put a little coffee cup so that way we know to talk about it in our Chatty Coffee Dates. But if you guys have one specifically about the holy days, make sure that you leave us a comment. You can comment your questions about that. And we're going to cover all of the holy days questions next week. So holidays, celebrating the biblical holy days, anything kind of related to that, we're going to tackle as many of those as we can, because I think a lot of people have some great questions about that. So we might as well just go for it and do all of that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So thank you guys for hanging out with us today and tackling all of the big, deep, heavy money, insurance, retirement, faith, trust, husbandry of animal, all the topics today, because there were some big ones. But we appreciate you guys for hanging out with us today. And of course, Sabrina and I will be back next Saturday, and we've got some fun stuff this week for our show and tell. I'm really, really excited to share some of these videos with you guys. We're going to cover some fun topics. So we will see you guys all in whatever video we see you next in. But thank you for hanging out with us today. Bye, friends.
Bye.